What's up, guys? Welcome into... There we go. Welcome into it. Got a few minutes here before the radio program starts. Happy... What is today? Is today Tuesday? Today really Tuesday? Allegedly, it's Tuesday. We got a great guest today. I am excited about our guest for the day, Dr. Lance Izumai, coming on the program. It's been a while since we've chatted with him. He is with the Pacific Research Institute. He'll join us to talk about critical race theory and public education and private education and micro-schooling and some other cool stuff that we like to talk about. So we'll get him on the program here at the bottom of the hour. Speaking of...
Broadcast.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Voice of Reason. Speaking of, we're going to start off the show. Anybody watch The Parent Challenge, that new TV show on Hulu, I believe it is? Kind of interesting. I didn't realize there were so many different styles of parenting. They have to compartmentalize all the different styles of how you raise your children. So we'll talk about that. We have some news coming out of the World Economic Forum with a lot of people really pushing this whole 1% tax deal that we talked about yesterday. We are live on a lot of the streaming sites. Let's jump over to Facebook here real quick. We're on our personal page, our radio show page, also on OpsLens. Oh, we got some people jumping on from Wisconsin, from New York. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Teresa. Welcome, welcome. We're also on our Podbean live stream with the audio. We're on the Tweety, on Twitch.tv as well.
Till broadcast.
I love it. Yeah, let me know where you guys are from. We are working on getting some more radio affiliates, and if you like the program, and if you're in that certain area, then we'll look at trying to reach out to radio partners around that area. As we are growing like a wild weed in the middle of springtime with the downpouring rains. I don't know how far I can go with that analogy. All right, if you are on the show, though, first off, welcome aboard. We love you to death. Like it out, share it out, leave a comment. Let's have some fun today
30 seconds
on a
broadcast.
Post-Monday celebration. Yeah, we got some cool stuff to get to today. Hang tight.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Republicans right now, the conservatives, which unfortunately, this is what we have to do every time, even after a vote where people are sick and tired of the establishment, they're sick and tired of the squeezy, middle-of-the-road, squishy kind of Republican rhinos, and we vote conservatives in, then we have to fight tooth and nail in D.C. to actually be heard within the Republican Party.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, darn right it is. Welcome into the program. It is a Tuesday, the greatest day of the entire week. We are moving along quite fast here on the program. Welcome in. It is the Tuesday, the Voice of Reason. I am Andy Hooser, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas on our flagship radio station. We are all over the country, however, multiple radio stations, TV, live streaming, and podcasting. However you may be watching or listening to the show, your Millennial General reporting for duty. Great to have you today. Big show lined up. Holy cow, I know I say that every day, but truly is today a big one. We have a lot of content we're going to try and cram through as usual. Bottom of the hour, Dr. Lance Izumai. He's with the Pacific Research Institute. He's also author of the brand new book, The Great Parent Revolt, as we talk about parents focusing on critical race theory, public education, and what we can do to fix some of those issues in the public education system. So we'll look forward to having him back on the program at the bottom of the hour. Stay tuned in for that one, which It's kind of an interesting topic right now going into the spring semester of school. Can you believe it, man? We are halfway through the month of January already. That kind of blows my mind and hurts my brain just a little bit, but we will continue to venture forth as quickly as it wants us to do. We also have some other big news that we'll get to today. We have the World Economic Forum that is officially underway with all the global elites. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. But real quickly, and it kind of feeds off of the public education thing as well. because there's an ongoing conversation about how much we need to focus on parental control over your children versus the public education system, where we just kind of pawn them off to there and be like, your duty is to teach our kids, your duty is to educate them, your duty is to put the world's perspective into our children's brain, as opposed to us as the parents. Now, for those that may know or may not know, I have an 8-year-old daughter. She is in 3rd grade right now, and it's cool because right now she's absorbing everything like a sponge, and I get to, and along with Mrs. Voice of Reason, obviously, we get to oversee her school projects, and we get to see what she's working on. We get to help her with her homework. We get to take things to a different level of perspective, so that way when she goes in, she doesn't just know how to regurgitate the numbers, but she understands it. And like her father, she is all about the math numbers, because math was always my specialty. It just clicked. It made sense, and it made me excited when the math formula was completed, of like, hey, I completed something, and I kind of get giddy about that. She does as well. Where we struggle is actually reading and writing, which is why I'm on radio and not a newspaper writer or a journalist or have a book out. Although we are working on trying to write a book for this program. Why? Because apparently every talk radio host has to have a book out there, or 2 or 3 or a bazillion. So we'll get one out eventually. Speaking of the children, the education, and the parenting, have you watched this new show? We started watching it last night. We watched, 2 or 3 episodes of it last night, called The Parent Challenge. I believe it's on Hulu, if I remember correct. Hulu or Netflix, I don't remember which one. But The Parent Challenge, where they get these different parents that they have different styles of parenting, and then they challenge the kids on how well that they do with certain projects, and then they essentially grade and judge on the best style of parenting that's out there. Now, first off, I have to admit that I did not know that there were so many different styles of parenting, because they have broken them up into, I want to say, like 7 or 10 different styles, including traditional parenting, strict parenting, free-range parenting, I'm not quite sure what that one means, new age parenting, which again, I've never heard of these terms before, routine parenting, where everything's by a schedule, by a routine, by this time you have to be doing this, by this time you have to be doing this, the helicopter parenting, of course they have to have helicopter parenting, and other different groups, which I can't remember at this time. And as we're watching these, it was kind of interesting, it kind of the insight to the house on how they get to raise their children, how they get to go about their day, and whether the kids actually adapt to the certain challenges that were presented to them, and how that parenting skill was able to hold up at that time, making the 6-year-old being able to jump off the top diving board in a pool, on whether they were able to connect with their kids, overcome that fear, whether they gave them the choice to do it, or whether the kids didn't want to do it, and how they overcame those certain things. It's an interesting show. But number one, I learned a couple of things. Number one is that I did not realize there were so many different styles of parenting, which made me really reflect on my kid as well, on how I parent, because I didn't know that there was a theme to it. But I think that I blend between the traditional and maybe a little bit of a new age parenting. I don't know. Mrs. Voice of Reason was all about the traditional and a little bit more of the strict parenting. So we have, I think, even between her and I, have a little bit different styles of parenting as well. But the other part that I realized was that there are a lot of really weak, really woke, and very triggered parents out there that get offended by everything. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that is one thing that I will make sure that my little voice of reason never has to experience, because they drove me nuts. The parents were sobbing on the show yesterday about how triggered they were about certain scenarios. For example, and this is just one example that I can remember off the top of my head. There was one couple that had a 6-year-old daughter, and they were an Asian couple, and they were the traditional Asian couple. They were very, very strict on their kid. They had like 12 hours of practice playing the violin. They had multiple hours of doing homework. There was multiple hours of reading books. At 6 years old, and in 3rd grade or 4th grade, whatever she was in, she was already doing middle school math because of how strict they were on her, which has some benefits and some negative connotations to them. And they had made the comment when explaining on why they did their style of parenting was because they said they did not want their daughter to be a loser, because they had seen that when kids aren't tested and aren't pushed to their limits and don't actually try to excel in something, then they were the ones that lose the games, or they were the ones that don't put all their effort into a certain a challenge or whatever it is, or a certain project, and they become the loser. Okay. After they made the comment, There was another set of parents there that literally began sobbing because they said the term loser was a triggering word for them because they had been called a loser growing up because they were bullied. And they literally, as a 40-year-old adult male sitting there sobbing on a national TV show because the word loser was very triggering to him and how he asked her to refrain that and use a different term because that was very triggering to him. Now, as sad as it is for someone to be called a loser or to be bullied, obviously that's not a thing, and we don't condone that in any way, shape, or form. That's a horrible thing, and we don't want that in society. It's never going to go away, number one. Number two, this goes into the woke mentality that we have in society today as well, where we can't use certain terms. If at the end of the year, if you remember in 2022, there was the list of what different universities are trying to recommend people use and not use for terms because it could be triggering or very offensive to certain cultures, certain people, certain individuals, certain groups. Okay, I kind of sort of see it, kind of, depending on the word. You know, there are certain derogatory words that will never be said on this program, nor do I ever say them in public or in private because it's just, it's hurtful. You don't use them. It's just stupid. Why would you ever want to use those terminologies? You don't classify individuals. You don't bring someone down. You don't bring a group of individuals down. You don't bring a class of people down. It's just stupid. Why would you do that? However, the term loser, there are winners and losers in life. Let's just be honest. Everything is a competition, whether we want it to be or not. Everything is a challenge, whether you're competing in sports, whether you're competing for your grades, or whether you're competing in the career field to be able to move up the corporate ladder to become the manager or not be the manager, and you're competing with somebody else for that same position. There are winners and there are losers. If you don't win, then you lose at that aspect. Now, you can change the perspective and say, I didn't lose, but it's a growing process. And if that's the case, then you are a great motivational speaker and you are someone who always is optimistic in life. I am one of those people. I've never considered myself a loser, although I don't have the #1 talk radio show host in the country. One of these days I'll get there, and I use that as momentum of, hey, I will get there to be one of the top talk show hosts in the country. That is my ultimate goal and my ultimate dream. And by golly, I'm tenacious enough to try and make it happen or do the best that I can. But I don't see myself as a loser, and nobody should see themselves as a loser as well. But the term is out there. But someone to be triggered as much as they were by the term loser means that you have some demons in your closet. Meaning that you have some trauma to work out. And we have to remember, whether it's this issue, whether it's the LGBTQ issue, where you self-identify as, or whether just a phrase or terminology or action or something from a significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, that is very quote-unquote triggering to you, means that you have a trauma that's not their fault for saying it, but it's your fault for buying into it. Now, obviously, people that have PTSD, they get triggered by a certain amount of things. Not necessarily their fault. Totally get it. However, is it someone else? I'm going to use this for example because I'm using a lot of generalities here. 4th of July, fireworks. In our city of Wichita, where I hail from here in the state of Kansas, we have every single year, we have a group of individuals that recommend not to fire off fireworks during the 4th of July because it triggers the PTSD from veterans who may have seen action, and the booming sounds in the sky is very triggering for some individuals. Totally understand. We love our veterans. We respect the hell out of them for what they've done for our nation. Don't disagree in any way, shape, or form. However, is it the fault of everybody else in society to pander and not fire off fireworks for those that are triggered by it, or is it the duty of the individual who is suffering from those to go and seek help and work through that trauma? Because society is not going to cower to your needs. It's like the transgender asking to be referred to as a male when they're not specifically a male because they're a female that's wanting to be a male, or vice versa. We don't pander to that. You can believe whatever you want to. You can feel however you want to, but it doesn't change reality when you walk out into the real world with everybody else. It means you have some shadow work to work on. It means you have some things to work on internally to make yourself better, to where when that trigger happens, you don't emotionally respond to it as the way you need to. So that was one of my 2 takeaways from that, is these very woke, very weak, very emotional parents that just start sobbing over everything. Kind of drove me nuts on that show last night. But I did learn a few things about certain parenting styles. I'm still waiting to see the helicopter parenting, because obviously everybody knows that that's going to be the worst parenting style out there in the entire world. And if you disagree, that I don't care. I don't care. But I'm curious on what free range parenting means. Look, the way I like the parent and Mrs. Voice of Reason, for the most part's on board with this, is, hey, you know what? We're going to push you hard where if you're going to do something, you need to give it 110%. Whether it's schooling, whether it's athletics, whether it's a game, whether it's whatever, that you need to be respectful, that you need to give it 110% and give it everything you've got. And then if you do lose, then it's a learning block to not get upset about it, but to use it as a learning lesson to elevate yourself and move forward. We're going to teach you respect. We're going to teach you rules. We're going to teach you boundaries. Outside of that, we know that you have human nature, and you're going to be testing those limits and those abilities and those boundaries that we've set, and you're going to be testing those because you need that world experience in which I'm going to give you that free reign to do that world experience. And just like when you were 3 and I told you not to jump off the stairs, and yet you still jumped off the stairs playing Power Rangers and you broke your foot, I did not try to pamper you or baby you. I looked at you and I said, well, we told you not to do it. You're not going to do that again, are you? Mrs. Voice of Reason is a little bit more on the nurturing side there, but that's my life lesson to her is, hey, we told you not to do it. You did it. Now you learned your lesson. All right. Can we move on now? And do you understand? I'm also one of those, however, I guess it's the new age thing to where if we tell them no, we're going to explain to them no, not just to say because I told you so, just go along with it, or else because we're the parent and we said so. I disagree with that one strongly as well. Kind of an interesting conversation with the Parent Challenge TV. Like I said, I think it's on Hulu or on Netflix. Not quite sure where, but interesting to see the different styles of parenting. Do you think your style of parenting is the way to go? And is that how you think all the kids need to be raised? Obviously, everybody's got their own little tips and unique tricks to be able to raise their kids. Some are very hands-on, some are very hands-off, and I think that really reflects on how society is going today as well, based on those different techniques. All right, we'll shift gears and get to some current events when we get back here on The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to The Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring The Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from The Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hooser Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on The Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with The Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it.
First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com.
For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website at HooserReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
Fighting for freedom every day. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into it. Darn right, 24 minutes past the hour. I know that the style of parenting is very quote-unquote triggering for some because, well, they were raised a certain way or they raised their kids a certain way, and don't tell me how to raise my kids. That's why I kind of enjoyed that program. I know it's kind of a stupid one, and obviously there's a lot of wokeness in it because they have to bring all different styles in here, and then you have the sobbing parents, I don't use the word trigger. Shut up. Grow up a little bit. Man, I don't know how people function in society sometimes. I'll tell you, some people are so soft and get so upset about everything. I don't know how you actually walk out your front door without bawling every day. I get it. I mean, it's good to be in touch with your emotions. I'm not saying just to close up like a hermit and just be like a wall here. I'm not saying that. There's been a lot of generational trauma because of generations that have done that, of just sucking it down, swallowing it, and, hey, just get back there. I'm not saying that. Yes, guys are allowed to have emotion. That doesn't make you unmanly if you get upset, but don't cry over a certain word. There's a line there. There's a line. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. There's a line, and sometimes you just don't want to cross it, and I'm very concerned about the beta males that's growing up in society, especially with the younger generation, because of the way they're being taught, both in the public education system and with the parents at home, with some of the hands-on or hands-off that's really going on there. So kind of an interesting one. I'm getting some comments on some of the live feeds about the styles of parenting and what's good and what's not. I'm telling you, as long as you're not a helicopter, which they have the category there, the helicopter parenting. They have it. And it blows my mind how that's even a style and people are okay with the helicopter parenting. Take it for whatever it's worth from a guy that has one 8-year-old daughter, is the only thing that I've learned so far, and one of the biggest resonating messages that have been told to me that I try to live up to with the parenting of me, is to cherish every moment, spend time with them, to be the loving parent and be a friend, but also be the parent first and foremost, and then guide them not to be the servant to do whatever your bidding is, and not to be the parent for the entire life, but at least to teach them and raise them to become their own adult later on, to where they can live without you. And I think that's where the helicopter parenting falls drastically short, is you're not teaching them to be able to live without you later on in life, and that's a little concerning. All right, I want to get to real quickly a headline here in what's trending.
What's trending today?
And before we get to our guest here after the bottom of the hour, so we have the World Economic Forum going on in Davos, Switzerland right now. Obviously, them really wanting to, stop the environmental climate issues that are going on and really talk about serious issues that are going on in the world and talk about the economics of the world and why we're in a recession after the COVID-19 pandemic. The perfect place to do that is right next to a ski resort in the middle of wintertime in Switzerland, where you have parties and you have the luxuries. And oh, by the way, the elites that really don't want you to do certain things, they are relishing and living it up with their high-end hoity-toity lifestyles. There's a headline from the Daily Mail out of the UK. I'm just going to read you the headline, and you can put it into your perspective however you want to. Prostitutes gather in Davos, Switzerland for the annual meeting of global elite, where demand for sexual services rockets during the economic summit. I just want to be clear here. The government leaders worldwide that gathered together for the World Economic Summit, talking about the economy, talking about the recessions, talking about the shortages and the supply demand, and, oh, by the way, trying to find out how to control your economic life after the report that we talked about yesterday regarding the top 1% of income earners globally consumed the 2/3 of all the economic growth over the last 3 years since the COVID-19 pandemic. Why? Because they shut us out. They made us stay at home. They made us wear the masks. They made us close down our small businesses that generate most of the economic activity. And then they consumed it all. They're the ones coming out there talking about how to get the economy back on track and how to control more of your life. And while they're doing that, the party continues with the massive increase of sexual services and sex workers that are going to Davos, Switzerland to meet up with the elites to party alongside of them. Aren't they looking out for your interests? Man. By the way, they're also talking about gender equality across the nation as well and across the globe. Obviously, the best way to do that is to hire a sex worker. So you have that going for you. When we come back, Dr. Lance and Zumai right around the corner here for a Tuesday.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government censorship and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own Voice of Reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media. Welcome to the Hooser Media Network. It's been a long time coming, and now it's growing bigger and better than we ever imagined. The Hooser Media Network is so much more than just the Voice of Reason. It's a network for you as a listener and you as a podcaster. It's a network for any kind of talk on any kind of topic, bringing podcasters together to give you a new way to think about the world, and it's any type of show from entertainment to educational. Check out all of our great programs, like Dr. Devin Verana with If They Knew.
Yeah, and it gives you tangible tools. I mean, I'm sure she just mentioned that some people might be mad at the government. I just can't imagine.
No.
I think there's a little bit of anger in the world these days, but I was listening to Wayne Dyer this morning, and he said, if you grab an orange and you squeeze it, what comes out? Juice. What kind of juice? Orange juice every time, right? It's not going to be apple juice. It's never going to be mango juice. It's always going to be orange juice. So whatever is in us is going to come out when we're squeezed. And so I'm sure you're learning that, like, taking yourself through this process continually just adds more and more power, more and more depth of compassion and joy and freedom and all those good feeling things, because you're clearing that space out.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Now take people, so for anybody listening out there that might have an object of anger, whether it's somebody or something or, objects out in the world these days, take us into some tactical, practical things that they can do. Number one, I'm sure, is to come see you, but what are some other things?
So I skipped that one on purpose when I was going through this, but the first book that changed my life, and I listened to it before I signed up for I listened to her 1 hour Zoom before I signed up for the class. She was interviewing a man who told us about a book called The Four Agreements. And so then when you get into the class, we study the book called Forgive for Good by Fred Luskin. And we went through a process by Michael Brown called The Presence Process. These are all 3 books. And I hate to be this honest, but let me be this honest. You can read those 3 books and know everything I'm going to teach you. But like any good class, I mean, just because I signed up for a class in college, I buy the books. You really need someone to guide you through them.
That, plus tune into Spiritual Smorgasbord with Desiree and Cheyenne.
It is, and we talked about that because then, of course, other things started to happen after that. Of course, that was not my last doctor's visit, by no means. However, we talked about it, and I thought, our ancestors were so smart. They know, whatever ails us, there's a cure for on this planet. We're just not smart enough to know how to use it, but our ancestors were. We need to get back to that. Modern medicine, basically what that is it is what you get from the plant, the healing benefit, just on steroids with side effects.
Yes.
And so a lot of people, modern medicine is considered sexy. It's fast resolving. It's instant gratification. But, and so plant-based formula, the raw, natural plant-based formula is what is going to work. It's going to be great. It just takes a while. And people want that instant gratification.
Oh, yes.
So a lot of people try
It's been marketed
something.
to them that way, too.
It
They're like,
has.
oh, that's the old way. It's going to take you forever. But if you just take this, you wake up tomorrow and you can have whatever you want.
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want.
But at what cost?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
my leg is broken, but have some Oxycontin.
Yes.
It's like, dude, your leg is still severely broken.
Right.
You just can't feel anything.
Yeah. And it's so let's go to nature. Let's see.
Yeah.
You know what? There's pain relievers in nature. Marijuana is a great pain reliever.
Yes.
For one. I mean, just
mentally and physically.
Yes. Well, I mean, but there's other remedies out there. And everything that ails us, there's a cure for on this planet.
This whole room smells like peppermint.
We're all getting cured.
We're all getting cured
Yes.
right now. It's a beautiful essential oil I bought from a local, I guess you could say, apothecary shelf, but I'm getting healed right now.
Yes, exactly. It is. And it's all around us. We just need to know how to look for it. And I'm sorry, but that's kind of what we were discussing. And that kind of was what started this whole journey. And what I'm very fortunate that, my spouse and I are together on this. It's not just one of us having a spiritual journey. It's that we're doing this together.
Listen to those shows and so much more on our website, where you can find live streaming, links to the podcast, links to social media, more content, and so much more. It's all online at HooserMedia.com.
When Reason Meets Radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
This indeed is the Voice of Reason, trying to cram that 10 pounds of reason into that 5-pound bag, trying to rebrand the millennial generation, one radio listener at a time. Now I'm all concerned and thinking about my different styles of parenting. I don't know, man. I'm still getting comments on that, which you can, by the way, leave a comment on the social media feeds with the live feed that we have going on. You can send me a message. You can also email me, HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com, or check out our website, Hooser Reason. That's HOOSER. No I in Hooser, HooserReason.com, and any of our social media with the handle @Hooser Reason as well. The Parent Challenge, that new TV show, how you're raising your parents, kind of interesting as we go through the new generations and what the new generations may look like with the different styles of parenting that are ongoing. We'll talk about some of this and more with our next guest. Really happy to have this guy back on for the first time in 2023, one of our favorite guests on the show.
What's trending today?
What's trending today is we're back at it with the spring semester for public education. And where are we when it comes to, as we talk about the role of parents and their children, not just in the home with the lifestyle, but also with their education as well, as we battle off and fight off some of the crazy radical agendas going on in our public education system. He's the director at the Pacific Research Institute Center for Education. He's also author of the brand new book, The Great Parent Revolt, How Parents and Grassroots Leaders Are Fighting Critical Race Theory in America's Schools. Excited to have back on the program with us here, Dr. Lance Izumai. Doctor, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Andy, and I'm doing even better that I'm on your show.
I love having you on the program. It's always a great conversation, and it's such an important one, too. I am so glad, and we've talked about this before, I am so glad that parents are beginning to refocus again their attention on their children's education, and not just their education. We were talking the last half hour over the breaks of this new TV show. I think it's on Hulu, called The Parent Challenge, of these different styles of parenting, whether it's the new age or the free range or the routine parenting or the helicopter parenting, and how now the focus is, again, on the young generation to make sure that we as parents are doing what's best for our children. I'm glad the focus is starting to be redirected this way again, because it hasn't been for a while.
No, I agree with you, Andy. I think that one of the important things that we've learned over certainly the last couple of years or so during the COVID pandemic is the fact that parents really want a more individualized way of educating their children. I think they've come to the realization that the one-size-fits-all type of system that they've been used to with the public school systems, especially with the school closures and then going to distance learning, and that was largely unsuccessful, that they realized that, hey, my kid has particular individual needs, and those needs need to be addressed, and they can't be addressed in this, march-along, one-size-fits-all system. And I think that, now that, COVID is receding, I think a lot of parents have carried that interest in having this more personalized type of instruction. And, regardless of, the type of parent they are or the type of child, they realize that everybody has their own individual needs, and that can best be done, through probably some kind of school choice program or homeschooling, so that, you can have those needs of your child met, and, and not have to roll the dice that the public schools may actually address the needs of your child.
That is very true. There's a lot of political agenda and societal agenda or social experiment crap they're trying to throw in, and it really started with the higher education, with the LGBTQ stuff and transgender issues or sexual orientation issues or even critical race theory. But it started with the higher education stuff. When do you think it really started bleeding into the K through 12 of saying, hey, let's target these kids at a way younger age to where we can brainwash them at the very beginning and the get-go here?
Well, you're right, Andy, that a lot of this indoctrination that kids are facing today in the public schools, has come from higher education. And, actually, a couple of decades ago, I actually wrote a study for the Pacific Research Institute where I actually did an analysis of the teacher training curriculum at the California State University Schools of Education, which, produce the bulk of the teachers in our state here in California. And what I found is that, all of the critical race theory types of things that parents are complaining about now, well, 20 years ago, that was being taught in the schools of education. So it's unsurprising that as more and more teachers are produced by a system like that, that they adopt the type of indoctrination they received in their teacher training programs and then carry that over into the regular public schools. And so I think that right now, unfortunately, you're seeing almost a critical mass of teachers who have brought those types of views into the classroom, and that's why you're seeing this Great Parent Revolt, the name of my book, The Great Parent Revolt, going on all across the country. It's not just a teacher here or there, or maybe in a blue state or in this particular urban city. No, it's actually all across the country. When you see, where these revolts by parents are going on, they're happening in red states, they're happening in blue states, they're happening in purple states, and it's because parents have realized that the education deep state that now controls public education is now indoctrinating their kids as opposed to educating their kids, and especially when it comes to something like critical race theory, which basically separates children into oppressors and oppressed classifications based upon their race. And it's one of the most divisive doctrines ever to penetrate American public education.
Yeah, amen to that. It's a devastating way to even look at the world. And it's sad because right now we already have a lack of patriotism in the nation. And now we're calling it apparently right-wing nationalism, where you can't have nationalism to where if you're just proud of the flag, you remember the national anthem, you can sing the national anthem, you can say the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you know how to properly hang or fly a flag, then you're a part of the nationalist, nutso, patriotic goons in this country, because we can't be doing that apparently in school anymore. Is that contributing to this when we have to apologize for who we are, apologize for the history of maybe our skin color, or apologize for the history of the country? Is that leading to this lack of appreciation of our system and of our country?
Yes, I mean, it all goes hand in hand, Andy. I mean, if you look at some of the curricula that is being used in the public schools, and also the exercises that students are being subjected to, it's really shocking. One of the things we did in our book, The Great Parent Revolt, is we actually interviewed students and to see what exactly is going on in their classrooms. We interviewed this one student who was telling us that he was forced in his middle school to participate in a so-called privilege walk, where the students in the class would line up in a line, and then the teacher would call out so-called privilege characteristics like, I am white, take a step forward. I am a Christian, take a step forward. I am male, take a step forward. And, this student was telling me that it was like a criminal lineup. And so, and since he was the only white male in the class, he felt like he was being singled out for negative stereotypes, of who he was, based upon characteristics that are totally beyond his control and not having to do anything with him as an individual human being. And so I think that when you have these types of curricula and exercises going on, I think that it contributes to this lack of patriotism that you talk about. And, you end up having a situation where patriotism, is, if you look at the polling data, is on the decline. I profiled in one of my previous books a charter school out here in California called John Adams Academy that actually focuses on American heritage, the founding documents, and patriotism. And when they started up, they had a massive flock of people who went to the informational hearing, the session on that school, and because there was such a hunger for that type of education amongst parents. And I think there's still the demand. The trouble is there isn't a supply right now.
It is very sad. It's sad that it's hitting so young at a K through 12. I mean, my brother told me the story when he went to college where he was in the classroom and his teacher said because he is white, because he is straight, because he is a male, and because the biggest thing was because he had both of his parents together that were not divorced, that he literally was the most privileged student in the entire school and in the entire classroom, and that it was his fault for many of the other travesties that the other kids had to go through. And I mean, this wasn't K through 12, but this was still higher education and a freshman year of college where he was at fault and was the most privileged out of all of them because he was white, straight, and male, and he had both of his parents together. Blew my mind.
No, that's right. I mean, and, that's exactly what we pinpoint in our book, The Great Parent Revolt, that how, this type of just insidious type of doctrine is like forcing people like your friend, the student that I talk about in my book, how it forces them to, to basically fit a stereotype of the left about who they are, not, again, about who they are as individuals. And again, this student told me that he felt like he was in a criminal lineup, not in a classroom. And so why should students be made to feel that way, when they're supposed to be learning the basic subjects? I mean, if you look at the test scores that were released just a couple months ago, the national test scores, you see massive declines in math and reading, and, which were not high to begin with before the pandemic, but with the pandemic you saw massive declines in those basic subject proficiencies. And so instead of focusing on those sorts of important issues, teaching your kids the 3 R's, schools are instead focusing on indoctrinating your child. And I think that one of the reasons why they're doing that is because that way they can say that the reason for the poor performance of children is not because of, their own failings as a school system, but because of their systemic or institutional racism that in the United States has stretched back to the founding of the country, and it shifts the blame to somebody else.
They love passing that blame off to somebody else. It's Dr. Lance Azumai, author of the book, The Great Parent Revolt, How Parents and Grassroots Leaders Are Fighting Critical Race Theory in America's Schools. Got to take a break. When we come back, I want to continue this conversation. You just opened up another box with when it comes to funding and how much money is being sunk into public education. And are the test scores, is the quality getting better or worse? We'll do some of that. And what are we doing to fight against with the revolt of the parents? Lots more coming up right here on The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to The Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring The Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You want some more reason throughout the day? Well, now it's easier than ever to find. Here's what you do. Check out the website at HooserReason.com. There you can find past shows, links to all of our social media, special features, our monthly blogs, and a heck of a lot more. Plus, make sure to check in frequently as we're constantly working to add more goodies that you'll really enjoy. Also, you can always subscribe and follow our social media sites for bonus content, articles that we use on the show, or maybe some additional rants. Yeah, it's all that and so much more. Check it all out at HooserReason.com. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hoosier Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. As we continue to grow as a radio and TV program, we're continuously working behind the scenes to try and bring more common sense and reason to more patriotic Americans all over the country. That's why we're super excited to be working with the OpsLens team to bring you the voice of reason every single day. OpsLens is a national online network bringing you incredible content all day from hosts all over the country. And each host brings their own unique experience and expertise to the current events, reaching hundreds of thousands of patriotic Americans daily. Make sure to check out their website at opslens.com. Make sure to download the OpsLens website and follow them on all of these social media sites that you like so you can watch all their live streaming content, including ours right here with the Voice of Reason. Plus, if you want more of the Voice of Reason, check out our website online at HooserReason.com. There you can listen to the live audio feed of the show every single day. You can read our monthly blog. You can check out our satire infomercials. You can see pictures of what we're doing, upcoming schedule of events, and a heck of a lot more. On the website, you can find our list of radio and TV affiliates in your area. Find our social media links, and while you're there, sign up for our free newsletter. Over the last 2 years, your Voice of Reason newsletter has grown exponentially. It's completely free, and in it we give you your monthly motivation, upcoming civic holidays for the month, a recap from the show from last month, upcoming guests on the program, along with the latest news from our Hoosier Media Network. It's pretty simple. All you got to do is go to the website at HooserReason.com and become the next Hoosier-holic. Finally, follow us on all of our social media sites. With the iron grip control on content from the radical left, unless you follow us, you're not going to be able to see us. It's been an ongoing battle with shadow banning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where even our own fans are having a hard time finding our content. But the battle isn't over. We'll continue to bring you the best content we can on as many platforms as possible. You can follow us with the handle at Hoosier Reason. No matter what social media site you like to use, you can find us there. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch.tv, Instagram, TikTok, OurFreedomBook.com, Parler, and of course our website at HooserReason.com. Don't miss it while we give you a heads up on some of the events that I may be attending or speaking at, updates of behind-the-scene projects, or just something sarcastic to try and rile up the left. The battle for freedom is real, and we want to be part of that battle as we want you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Conservative principles happen at the grassroots level, and that's what we're here to help with. And together, you and I can fight back against this virus that's spreading across the nation that is socialist policy, trying to destroy this country. We can bring us back to some constitutional values, some individual sovereignty, and the right for you to be able to make your own choices when you deem necessary for you, your family, and your community. In a world of fake news and information overload, it's time to bring back some reason, common sense, guidance, and a little bit of wisdom. And that's what we're here to do. This is the Voice of Reason.
Fighting for freedom every day. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Oh, I have to admit, one of my biggest pet peeves in the world is hypocrisy. Saying one thing and doing something different, or the rules for me, not for thee. We see it all the time. Prime example, as we talked about a little bit earlier in the program, this World Economic Forum, all the great elites of the world getting together to talk about the finances, talk about the economy, talk about the way the world should be, while they demonize the top 1%, which they more than likely probably are, as they want to redistribute wealth and then try and enslave everybody else economically. And as we read earlier in the program, that there's a headline about the vast number of sex workers and prostitutes going to Davos, Switzerland, because there's a high demand during the time the elites are there, while they're talking about gender equality issues in the workforce. At the same time, they have over, according to the Daily Mail, they have over 1,000 private jets that are flying in for the Economic Forum as well, while they're there talking about green energy and environmental issues. I again, find that relatively ironic, kind of like the public education system, where we say we're educating kids, and again, this is not an attack on all public school teachers at all, because there are so many teachers out there that are doing a wonderful, amazing jobs, and your hands are tied, which is why the system needs to be changed. We have massive amounts of money being dumped into the public education system, predominantly in inner city areas, largely populated areas, when, as you mentioned, Dr. Lance Azumai on the line with us here, the author of the book, The Great Parent Revolt, also director of the Pacific Research Institute's Center for Education. Massive amounts of money being sunk into the public education system, and yet grades aren't going up, test scores aren't going up, quality's not going up. So with our parents' revolt, who do you think is to blame the most? Is it the administrative peak and the pinnacle of the public education system, or is it the teachers' unions that are tying the hands of the teachers, or is it a combination of both, do you think?
Oh, it's a combination of both, Andy. I think what you're seeing is, again, what I refer to as the education deep state. It's the education special interest groups like the teachers' unions, which are very powerful. It's the way we allocate money. Yes, you can say that, hey, we've increased, funding for the public schools, but the question is, where is that funding going to? Who is it paying for? And is what that money is going to actually producing bang for the buck in the manner of improving student performance? I think one of the things, unfortunately, that you're seeing more and more of right now is that a lot of the dollars are going to the critical race theory type of offshoots like diversity, equity, and inclusion consultants who are basically training the staff at school districts to be woke indoctrinators. And so, I mean, one of the things that, in fact, just very recently in the last few days, that has come out in Virginia, and Governor Glenn Youngkin there, is saying that there needs to be investigations, and I believe that the state attorney general is going to do some investigations there about where all that money is going. And, unfortunately, what you're seeing is that instead of focusing those dollars on improving student performance, which is what parents want, what you're seeing is actually those students who actually are doing well, who are being penalized because the emphasis is on equity, which means same results for all students, even if they're low, and not really equality, which is different than equity, equality of opportunity, which means you have the chance to excel to the level that your potential grants you. And so high-achieving students, unfortunately, under doctrines like equity, are not recognized, and their achievements are diminished because to do so would hurt the feelings of the kids who aren't achieving. So therefore, what you have is incentives for kids not to do well. And again, with a system that is already failing, when you push in that type of political doctrine into the classroom that disincentivizes kids from doing well, you end up having even more failure.
What a sad system. Lance, we got just about 45 seconds here as we kind of wrap up, but where did this concept of equity come from? We keep hearing that word equity now, which I'm curious on who's actually setting the value of your equity as a human being. That, to me, is the most disturbing part of it on a philosophical, fundamental level, but when did this term of equity come about?
Well, it's been coming out, again, as you pointed out earlier in the program, Andy, through higher education. And so it's a term that's used because it is more palatable and a more euphemistic term to the average person than the term critical race theory, even though basically it's the same thing. And so therefore you can shove CRT-related curriculum and teaching practices under the guise of equity when you can't under CRT.
We got a lot of work to do to clean up the system, but you're on it. So many people are on it. People are waking up about what's going on in the public education system, and you need to check out the book, The Great Parent Revolt, How Parents and Grassroots Leaders Are Fighting Critical Race Theory in America's Schools. Dr. Lance Azumai. Lance, it's so good to talk to you, my friend. Happy New Year. I can't wait to chat with you again real soon, my friend.
Thanks so much, Andy. It's great to be on your show.
Hey, always a pleasure. We love it. We'll do it again here real soon. That does it for us today. Podcast up in just a bit. Back at it tomorrow. Until then, be your own voice of reason. This is The Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser. We'll see you on the radio. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the voice of reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the voice of reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own voice of reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts,